The Legend of Zelda has had a generational run on Switch. Two massive games that would redefine the genre they're in, and yearly releases in between from remakes to ports, Zelda's had a pretty great run on the Switch. And with the Switch 2 inching closer and closer, it's only natural we start speculating about what's next for our favorite franchises, whether it be Mario, Smash Bros, or yes, The Legend of Zelda. Tears of the Kingdom is nearly 2 years old at the time of releasing this video, which means that the development team is almost definitely working on the next major project. It's around the same time after Breath of the Wild came out that Tears of the Kingdom was revealed to be the sequel to Breath of the Wild, so I'm honestly expecting something very soon to at least give us a hint as to what's coming next. Zelda has had a lot of success on the Switch, but it's also had its shortcomings, and today I want to go over a few things that I would like to see from Zelda in the next generation. This list applies to the entire next generation of Zelda. That includes the two mainline games Nintendo often keeps tradition with, remakes, ports, anything Zelda related when it comes to Switch 2. Like I said, these are just the things that I personally want to see come into play while Zelda is on the Switch 2. So without further ado, let's get into it. Starting off the list, this is, in my opinion, one of the most important things to get right with Zelda in the next generation. I want to see a linear story structure make its return. With Breath of the Wild, especially Tears of the Kingdom, we've seen the upper limits of what storytelling holds to this specific format. Previous Zelda games in the linear format also featured linear storytelling. In the open-air format, the stories play out very differently from how they used to. Once you leave the starting area in each game, you're free to do whatever you want and go wherever you want. This also bleeds into the storytelling as the developers didn't want to impose on the freedoms you have while exploring these massive worlds. However, we've seen the negative effects this can have on the overall experience when you're experiencing a story that has an evolving narrative. The storytelling in the Wild era of Zelda, as I'm coining it, has two plots. The plot in the present, where Link is either trying to save or look for Zelda, and the plot in the past, the story that takes place through Link and Zelda's memories. Breath of the Wild's story worked in this aspect as from the beginning, we're told about what happened in the past. Link may have amnesia, but King Rome informs us of how the Calamity Ganon destroyed Hyrule all those years ago. So, looking for your memories is only putting specifics to what happened and how Link got to where he is now. The memories only serve as proper context to your journey and who Zelda is as a character and the struggles she deals with, so it can make the reunion all the better. Tears of the Kingdom has a completely different way of going about the story. The best way I can describe it is that Nintendo wanted to tell a linear story, but for whatever reason backed out at the last second and put fragments of the cutscenes in the memories again. What makes this story not work in general is how the structure of the memories was kept. It's not a Breath of the Wild situation where we know what's going to happen at the end of these scenes. Zelda is whisked away somewhere and we need to find out where she is and see if she's okay. Her story in the past is not one that everyone knows about. It's a story that's headed in an unknown direction, and there's a strong urge to find out where it goes, only for the game to purposefully spoil you for no reason. I saw Ganondorf kill Sonia and take the secret stone for himself before I even know what those characters and concepts were. This is just not how you tell a story. Sure, you can look at the area in the Forgotten Temple with the locations to find the right order in which you should view them, but I think that's just such a weird way to go about things, especially when it's not explicitly said that this is the order you need to look at them. The cutscene with Ganondorf is right next to the Forgotten Temple. Of course, players are going to be naturally drawn to it. This is why I think having a linear structure when it comes to story is pretty important. Gameplay is always going to be the most important aspect for a Zelda game. But at the same time, I think a huge part of why so many Zelda games are remembered as fondly as they are is because of the stories and the characters in the games. Majora's Mask would not be the game it is without its story. Same thing with Twilight Princess and others. You can create a linear progressing story without imposing on the actual freedoms set by the game and exploring. In fact, you could actually make a story that's all about freedom and go in the complete opposite direction and have a story that's constantly changing and evolving based off of the choices the player makes. Certain moments may play out differently than expected because the player made a choice earlier on that affected something later, or a location is permanently changed because of your actions. Nintendo has the gameplay side of things nailed down, but I think the storytelling could use a lot of improvements, and either making the story linear or a choose your own adventure style of storytelling would go crazy in the next mainline game. Just anything that's not Tears' story, please. I think Nintendo should bring over the rest of the games. This includes Wind Waker and Twilight Princess, of course, but I think that every mainline Zelda game should be playable in some way on Switch 2. The Switch 2 is backwards compatible with the previous generation, so half the legwork is already done. There's only a select few games that are missing, and with certain features coming to the Switch 2, it may not be that big of an issue. The Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker, Four Swords Adventures, and Twilight Princess all can be brought over with no relative issues. The real issues are bringing over the DS and 3DS line of games. This video is coming out the same day day is the Switch 2 Direct, which may make this issue null and void with the mouse functionality or whatever the C button does, but I'm sure they can figure something out. It's not the first time a DS game was ported to modern hardware. The Switch is already home to the entire catalog of so many Nintendo franchises, and I think completing at the bare minimum all of the 3D Zelda games feels like a requirement. Nintendo's been slowly rolling out their legacy games on Switch Online, and I want to believe that for the Switch 2, they're going to continue this trend with eventually rolling out GameCube games and the like, but you know, you can never be too sure. I mean, come on, at the very least, bring Wind Waker and Twilight Princess over, said every Zelda fan ever. I know, Ocarina of Time is already on the Switch through Switch Online, but considering that it's pretty unlikely we're going to get a new Zelda for about 4 years from now, just by judging by the mainline game's release, I think another remake is in order, and Grezzo can probably make it. I don't really care who the developers are, but I think a remake of Ocarina of Time would do wonders for the Zelda community and the overall Nintendo community. We could even take it one step further and make it a reimagining. Since I'm pressed for time on this video, I just recommend watching my good friend DK Matt's video on the subject on how to make the Zelda community happy. That's what it's called. He makes some interesting points on what they could do with an Ocarina of Time remake, and it's a video that I personally edited, so if you want a better explanation, just go watch that video. Give him a like, give him a subscribe. I want Zelda and Smash to get a whole lot better. I think Smash Ultimate as a whole has quite a few problems of its own, but one of the biggest letdowns of that game was how they teased the reworking of certain characters despite just not doing that at all. We even got Breath of the Wild Link's design in the game, and I think they should just go further with this. Link, Zelda, and especially Ganondorf have all kinds of moveset potential, and it would just feel weird to keep Link the way he has been since the beginning of Smash Bros. Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom offer so much more moveset potential for these characters, and I just want to see them properly represented going forward. In Smash, you could even keep the current Zelda cast and add on Breath of the Wild, Link, Zelda, and Ganondorf as separate characters if they wanted to go that route too. It's not the first time they've done this, and if they don't want to permanently remove Twilight Princess Link as a legacy character, they can certainly do that. I could be talking about a lot of smaller stuff that could make up for its own ending section, but honestly, regardless of all my complaints and all of my wish listing, I trust Nintendo. I trust that they're going to make a great Zelda game come out on Switch 2 in about 4 years or so. I can't think of anything else. I've ran out of the script. I got like 2 hours before I got to catch a flight. I'm going to finish this video. My name is Dylonic, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye-bye.